She said it was paranoia, that I was controlling, that only crazy men put trackers on their wife's car. The GPS pinged at 2:11 a.m. Same house, same street, 3 nights in a row. The GPS tracker proved I wasn't crazy. It proved she wasn't alone. Front porch light on, his silhouette in the window, her car in his driveway like a confession in metal and glass. She texted me, "Late showing," and the map drew me a straight line to a stranger's front door. I screenshots everything. Battery icon red, my hands cold. When she came home at dawn, I was awake, calm as a corner. "Long night?" I asked. She smiled like a locked door. "Baby," she said, "you're imagining things." I wasn't. The tracker didn't imagine anything. I did. I'm Nate, 39. Residential HVAC in a suburb just outside Columbus. If you've ever sat in a living room in January and felt warm air rush out of a vent, that was probably me, or someone who learned from me. I like things that hum, things that keep temperature steady, things that don't surprise you. Marriage is supposed to be like a well-tuned system. Air in, air out. Filter changed, routine checks. No drama. Jess, my wife, sells homes. She's the "let me show you the kitchen" type, with a smile that makes people picture Christmas mornings and clean countertops. We've been together 11 years. 1 kid, Sam, 8, missing his front tooth last sparring, and proud of it. We had Saturday pancakes, church sometimes, little league, open houses, and the soft kind of exhaustion that comes from working for your family instead of against it. I took overtime after my dad had a stroke. Medical bills don't care about your schedule. Jess promised she'd pick up the slack. More showings, more staging gigs. We talked about being a team. She bought a planner with gold spirals and wrote our goals in neat, perfect boxes. "This is our build year," she said. Then, one night in late March, she started coming home late. Real estate doesn't clock out at 5, that's true. Buyers called at weird hours. Inspectors reschedule. I told myself all the rational things a husband tells himself when he wants to be decent and not jealous. I breathed through it. I made nachos for Sam, did the spelling words, and fell asleep on the couch to a crime show with the volume low. When she slipped in at 1:40 a.m., she smelled like rain and the kind of wine you drink when you don't plan to go home. She kissed my forehead. "You're a hero," she whispered. I wanted to be. Heroes save things. I didn't know what needed saving yet. Red flags don't show up as red. They show up as beige. They blend into the walls you painted together. First there were twilight showings that ran long because the buyers had questions. Then a new password on her phone. Work clients, she said. A new gym bag in the back of her car, though she hates James. Receipts for a wine bar across town we never go to. $40 here, $60 there. She laughed at my face when I asked small questions. "Babe, you sound like a sitcom husband from 1998. She told me Mrs. Watkins, the broker, was pushing her hard, that she had to hustle. Her jaw clenched when she said hustle, like the word was a walnut she was cracking. One Friday, she missed Sam's school play. "Buyers flew in from Denver last minute," she texted. I filmed our kid as Peter Pan with someone else's wife cheering next to me. Afterward, I drove past the address of the supposed listing. Dark windows, lockbox cold. My chest hurt like a bad capacitor. A rumor floated into my shop from a friend's friend, a mortgage guy named Ethan on the north side who networked with agents over cocktails. The kind of guy with a square jaw and an espresso machine in his office. I pictured him in tailored shirts and shiny shoes asking my wife about her pipeline. I hated that word. Then came the false lead, the thing that makes you feel like a monster for even wondering. I found a hidden appointment card in her purse for a therapist. I felt a wave of guilt. Maybe she was depressed. Maybe she had panic attacks and didn't want to scare me. I decided to be better. I bought flowers. I left her a note. I'm on your side, even when I don't know the fight. She texted a heart. Then she stayed out till 2:30. What do you do when your gut won't shut up? You either drink until it sleeps, or you feed it proof. I chose proof. I ordered the tracker online. Small, magnetic, idiot-proof. I told myself it was temporary. 2 weeks. I said to my reflection, if I'm wrong, I'll confess and be ashamed and never mention it again. That's how decent men talk to the bathroom mirror when they're about to break their own rules. The first night, the dot danced across town like any busy agent. Mall area, a couple neighborhoods. Nothing weird. Around 10, it paused at a cul-de-sac I didn't recognize. Stayed 20 minutes. Moved again. Night 2, same cul-de-sac. 48 minutes. Past midnight. You still up? She texted. I replied with a thumbs up. My stomach felt like the air filter you pull from a system and realize no one's changed in years. Black. Heavy. Choking. Night 3, it wasn't a dance. It was a homing beacon. 2:11 a.m. Her car parked outside a 2-story with a port swing and a trash bin pulled halfway back from the curb. Same house as night 2. Street lamp threw a circle of yellow on the roofline. I drove there because some curses only work if you say them in person. I parked 2 blocks away and walked the quiet like a thief. Spring cold bit my knuckles. Her SUV in his driveway. A man's shadow crossed a lit window. You know how you always think you'll throw something, kick a door, go wild? I didn't. I took pictures. License plate. House number. Timestamp glowing like a verdict. Then I walked back to my truck and sat with my forehead on the wheel until the horn beeped weakly. The air smelled like wet pine and betrayal. When she came home near dawn, her hair was shower damp and her cheeks pink. You're up early, she said. I nodded. Couldn't sleep, I said. Flat. You? She shrugged. Busy night, she said. The word busy stuck to my teeth. I swallowed it whole. I didn't confront her right away. Confrontations are explosions. Investigations are controlled burns. I started with the dot. Over 7 days, it drew a pattern on my phone I could trace with my eyes closed. Our house, to the office, a strip of restaurants, the cul-de-sac, home around dawn. Mondays and Thursdays, like clockwork. Once, on a Sunday, after open house. I checked our joint bank account. Small withdrawals in cash. The wine bar again. A florist by the highway. Receipts for bouquets I never saw. I logged into the cell account. A number repeated late nights. I wrote it down. I didn't call. I memorized it. I needed a name to attach to the house. The county property site gave me one. Ethan Briggs. Mortgage officer. Married. 2 kids. I clicked his headshot on a lending website and recognized the jaw I'd invented in my anger. Sometimes your worst imagination is just your best guess. I drove by in daylight. The port swing swayed empty. A chalk drawing of a dragon curled on the sidewalk. I took a picture of the mailbox because I wanted the metal to witness me. This is where you were, I told the future version of myself, who might try to rewrite it. I kept collecting. Doorbell camera. Our neighbor is the kind woman who bakes around Christmas. Her camera caught Jess leaving at 12:53 a.m. Calendar alibis. I wrote book club, staging, late buyers in my notebook next to GPS pings. Work chatter. A buddy heard Ethan brag about a firecracker agent crushing his pipeline. Phone habits. She started charging her phone face down. Do not disturb on. Leapy when I walked in. Laundry tells. Perfume I don't know. 2 receipts in a jean pocket for the same bar 2 nights apart. Then the paranoia false lead, my mind's last attempt to be kind. I saw a police report in the neighborhood Facebook group. Someone called in a domestic disturbance on that same street a month ago. I stared at that post like it might absolve her. What if she's helping his wife? What if she's counseling a client through something rough? I wanted any explanation that didn't make me the fool and her the knife. I almost messaged the poster. I didn't. I'm grateful. On day 9, I found the second phone. It was in the canvas tote she uses for open houses under the seller's disclosure forms. Cheap, pay as you go. Lock screen photo of a beach we never visited. 4 texts from E. E. Porch lights on. E. Park close, I'll move my truck. E. You good. E. Miss you already. I sat on the floor of our mud room with that phone in my lap and felt every version of our wedding day die one by one. I screenshot it, emailed them to myself, printed them because ink on paper feels like truth you can hold even when your hands shake. I set up a meeting with a lawyer, not a dramatic one, a measured woman with gray hair and calm eyes who told me to breathe. She said, "Don't move out. Don't threaten. Don't argue. Document." I took notes like a student. I left with a folder that felt heavier than it looked. I told one person, my sister Hannah. She listened until I stopped making sense. She said, "When you confront, don't do it alone." She offered to be there. I said I'd think about it. I wanted to be a man who handled his own business. But sometimes handling your own business means not trying to stand on a floor that just gave way. The last piece dropped at 12:06 a.m. on a Tuesday. GPS ping, cul-de-sac. I drove, parked 2 blocks away, and waited with the kind of quiet that grows teeth. A silhouette moved behind the curtain. Porch light flashed, then dark. At 1:08 a.m., my wife stepped onto the porch, pulled her coat tight, and kissed a man in the doorway like she had been practicing it. My phone camera heard the click of its own shutter, and I thought, that's the sound of a life breaking clean. I chose the kitchen. Families have wars at kitchen islands more than they do in living rooms. The day after the last ping, I brewed coffee and laid the papers out like a place setting. GPS printouts, screenshots, property record, the burner phone beside a blue ceramic mug. When she came down, she smiled on autopilot, then saw the display, and I watched the muscles in her face try to decide who to be. "What's this?" she asked. "Proof," I said. My voice surprised me. It sounded like the guy who reads results on a game show. Proof of what? That I'm not crazy. I tapped the map. Monday, Thursday, Sunday. Your late showings. She laughed once, sharp. "You tracked me? That's abusive, Nate." "What you did is a word too," I said. "We can look it up together." Gaslighting is an art form some people practice like piano. She tried all the notes. "We were talking about a listing. He's just a lender. It's networking. It's not what it looks like." Then the minor keys. "You've been distant. You work too much. I needed someone to talk to. I didn't know how to tell you I'm unhappy." I let her play. Then I slid the burner phone across the counter. "I found your other voice," I said. "It sings the same song every Monday and Thursday." Her eyes went wet, but not sorry. "You invaded my privacy," she said. as if that canceled everything. I abandoned our marriage, I said. In trade. For what? She snapped. For attention you didn't have to earn. I called Hannah. She came. We sat like a jury of two. Jess tried anger, then pity, then silence long enough to be strategy. I told her I'd spoken to a lawyer, that I wouldn't move out, that we'd share the house until we had a plan for Sam. Her chin lifted. You're making me the villain, she said, wounded. You auditioned, I said, flat. You got the part. 2 days later, we met at her parents' house with a mediator. I brought a thumb drive. Her father, a retired teacher who never liked conflict, stared at the table until I projected the photos on their TV. Jess's mother made a sound I didn't know mothers could make. I didn't look at Jess. Ethan's wife showed up halfway through, invited by Hannah, who found her on Facebook and sent her what I had. The room filled with a quiet that burned. Ethan's wife whispered, "Horse, thank you for not letting me be the only fool." Jess kept saying, "It's complicated," as if complexity were a defense. The mediator, bless her, said, "Consequences usually aren't." We split the week for Sam. We split the bank accounts. We split the house into rooms labeled yours, mine, ours, with blue painter's tape like a garage sale. She moved into the guest room. I slept like a man who'd stopped holding a ceiling up with his bare hands. Divorce isn't a hammer. It's sandpaper. It wears you down with grit and repetition. Court dates, forms, evaluations about your ability to love your own child. People you don't know using phrases like best interests and equitable division. Just wanted more than half of my retirement because she'd supported my career. My lawyer smiled like a winter sky. "We'll see," she said. Neighbors chose sides without telling you. I could feel it in the way the trash cans moved after pickup and how fast the wave died when I drove by. Some looked at me like a cautionary tale. Some looked at Jess like a headline they couldn't stop reading. Ethan resigned from the HOA and took time from work to focus on family. I took time to learn how to cook the 3 meals Sam liked best. Financially, it was ugly, but survivable. We sold the house we thought we'd grow old in because neither of us could carry the mortgage solo without turning into a different kind of liar. I rented a 2-bedroom with a balcony that faces a scrappy maple tree. On my nights with Sam, we sat outside with Coco, even when it wasn't Coco weather, and named squirrels after baseball players. Personally, I did the embarrassing things. I went to therapy and told a woman I don't know about my father's affair when I was 12, and how I swore I'd be the opposite kind of man. I said the word shame out loud and watched it stop being a monster and start being a weather pattern. I ran in the mornings before work and let the cold burn me clean. I learned that grief shows up as a song in the grocery aisle and as a quiet in your truck after you turn the key off. One night, months later, Jess asked to meet. We sat at a diner as if there were versions of us that still did. She said, "I never meant to hurt you." I said, "You would have had to mean not to." She talked about emptiness, about wanting something sparkly and hers. I said I hope she found something that didn't need lying to keep it lit. She asked if I hated her. "I don't have time," I said. "I have a kid who needs a dad and a life that needs building." People ask if the tracker made me feel dirty. It didn't. The lies did. The tracker just kept score when I was too generous to. It was my rail against a fog designed to make me doubt my own eyes. On the day the divorce finalized, the judge asked routine questions. I answered like a man reading the back of a cereal box. When she stamped the papers, it sounded like a release valve. My phone buzzed, Sam's baseball schedule. I left the courthouse and bought a new glove, because the old one smelled like a version of me that kept trying to believe. I drove past the cul-de-sac once, not to hurt myself, just to see if the world still stood where I left it. It did. Porch swing, trash bin, dragon chalk long since washed away. I didn't feel rage. I felt accurate. There's a difference. She said it was paranoia. She was wrong. It was vigilance in the face of gaslight. It was refusing to live in a story someone else kept rewriting. It was a man being his own witness so he could become his son's example. She said I was paranoid. I was just precise. And the GPS didn't save my marriage, but it did save me.